We have another speaker, another lady, but I can't see her. Noemi Bitterman. Is Noemi here? Oh, there she is. Nice to see you. Please welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here for a very small country and not as condensed as here in Hong Kong. And I'm very glad that you found to put a whole session on the issue of open space and gardens and whatever. And I go further with the things which you've heard before in the morning and now, and talk about urban gardens, pocket gardens, or whatever, different names we have for it, for reducing stress, for improving the performance, and for increasing satisfaction. And actually, the incentive for it was from Ella. Ella is a very talented, graduated landscape architect doing very nice things. And she approached me and said, I'm doing very nice things. However, I do not know if I'm doing the right thing. Please help me to identify what exactly should be in a garden, in a pocket garden, in urban space, in order to reduce the stress and to improve in performance, as everyone is talking about. And I said, I don't know exactly, but let's check it. It's her master's work, and probably she will continue also to doctorate work. So nature is, I think, it goes without saying that we like to be in nature, and everyone would prefer now to stay in this beautiful place rather than sitting here, although it's very pleasant here, and we like the location very much. And there are a lot of quotations about the beneficial effect of nature, just to quote one of them, for an American naturalist and writer, very famous, that he goes to nature to be soothed and heated and to have his senses put together once more. However, real life is not exactly the same, and here is the city, not very condensed, but the percentage and the statistics which we have heard in the morning is that we have more and more cities, and more people are living in cities. We have now something like 54% who are living in the city, but in the near future it would be even increased. As it's very nice was written in the book of Thomas Friedman, our world is hot, flat, and crowded. So we have really a problem, and the gardens, the small gardens, the urban gardens, the patios are a sort of solution to bring the nature into the cities because we live in the cities. So we have it all around. We have it in workplaces. We have it in universities, here in MIT, in my university. We have it in hospitals. We have residences, and we have different places in the public space in which we have those places. And the question is, okay, we have it. However, what should be really in the garden? How should it be planned? And what should be the components of such a garden? So this was the question that Ella have asked me, and the aim of this research was to study the isolated effect of different components, different elements that are in the garden. She made a very, very long list of something like 20 points that are components of a garden, and we selected out of it only 5 things. We couldn't do more. We selected the sound that people hear while they are seated, the smell, the cover of the ground, the color of the flowers in the garden, and the bench on which we are sitting. And we wanted to see how it really improves the relaxation, the wellness, and maybe the functionality. And we looked on the literature, and not surprisingly, we hardly could find any literature on the specific effect of isolated landscape elements. This is just one of them that was felt. There is a shortage in such information, and therefore we decided to check it by ourselves. What we've done is 2 parts for the research. First of all was the questionnaire, and the second one were experiments. And the questionnaire was a very interesting one. Whenever you go to people and you ask them what do they prefer, what type of sound or what smell, it's a very difficult for people to express exactly what smell you mean or what type of sound. So therefore, we went to very simple questionnaire, which was with picture and with sounds. It was an interactive vocal and pictorial questionnaire. First of all, we took pictures of a pocket garden. Later on, you'll see it. Then we modified it using Photoshop, and each time we just modified one element in this specific same pocket garden. So whenever people answered, they answered of the same type of garden, which is just different in one element. Then we selected 5 environmental elements: the ground cover, the flower color, the bench, smell, and sound. We gave each person 5 options of each element, and we asked the people to rank it on a scale of 1 to 5. So here is the, I'm sorry, I have no pointer. Here is the garden, which is in the physics faculty in our university. And we really see that the students are going to these small there are 2 gardens in the building. Of course, they're going to smoke and to talk, but I see that they sit there and it's a sort of relaxation in these very demanding studies that they are having. And we have taken this picture and made just Photoshop modulation, and you see more later on. Different picture, it's the same picture, just here we changed the cover of the floor, whether it's grass or it's stone or these wood pieces. So these were the 4 elements which we studied. We had the sound, 5 types of sound, ground cover, 5 types of ground cover, bench materials, what would be the bench which we put in, whether it would be on a wood or stone and metal, what would bring the people to feel better, what would be the smell. And again, we have a problem there. I don't know how, but in most of the languages, there is not a specific name for smell. Most of the smells are named after the name of the plant, of the flora, of the animal, or whatever. And there are the colors of the flowers. So this is the questionnaire. Unfortunately, it's in Hebrew, and I can't give you these sounds because we already closed the internet website. But we had 5 types of sound, and everyone can hear the sound, then can increase or decrease the volume according to their wills. They can replay it, and they have to rank it on 1 to 5 scale, which would be the most preferred, what would be the rank they would give of each of the sounds. We have it for the ground cover, as I said. It's a wood chips, grass, paving, gravel, or wood deck, and each one received a rank between 1 to 5. We did the same thing about the bench material, the same about the flora smells, and the same about the colors of the flowers. The population was about 200 people. We could have more. People enjoyed it very much. For me, the indication was that only few people dropped from the questionnaire. When they started it, they went up to the end of it, and they said, wow, it's a fun to do such a questionnaire. The ages were between 18 and 70. Mean age was 35. We had something like half between male and female. Most of them had academic education. Half of them, between half and half, between people who had kids or not kids. More than half of the survey population are living in apartment in the city. 25% having a private home, and it's very similar to what they were used to before they came to the university or to Haifa. And most of the day, if you look on the second from the right, most of the days they spend the time indoors. They spend it in office, they spend it in a public space, and only 1/4 spend it at home. So here are the results of the survey of about 200 people who answered, and the preferred sounds are water sounds, fountain, and birds. What were the texture, the ground cover? The 2 preferred one were the grass and the wood deck, almost at the same level of significance. When we go to the bench material, it was wood, definitely only wood. I know a lot of designers prefer the stone on the concrete for aesthetic reason, but most of the people prefer wood, although it's more complicated to take care of. Whenever we go to the smell, the preferred one were the smells of a tea, mint, lemongrass, verbena, significantly at the higher preferences of 200 people. And then when we went to the colors, we had all the different colors, and most of the people preferred the mixed color. So the next step was to take the preferences of the people and to try to see how indeed, does it indeed improve the relaxation, reduce the stress, improve the performance of the people. And out of all these, we decided to concentrate on two objects which are less studied usually by the landscape architects and by architects in general, which are the sound and the smell. Usually we do not take so much care about these two topics, and therefore we decided the sound and smell would be the main focus of the research. So after completion of the internet questionnaire, we went to experiments to study the effect of sound and smell on stress, performance, and preferences in the environment of a pocket garden. And we are using in our laboratory a set of 3 parameters. The first of one, in order to have it at evidence-based design, the first one is functional. We study how fast or how many errors or what is the reaction time for various tests we're giving the people. The second one is, of course, subjective. We are going to the users and ask them what do they prefer. And the third one, which is unique for at least our laboratory, we are using physiological parameters. Whenever we want to do if the people are under stress or not, we use the parameter of the function of the autonomic system and see if there are differences in the autonomic parameter of the volunteers, of the subjects. And of course, the statistics is repeated ANOVA, ad hoc tests, and various correlation. So we, of course, wanted to do a real experiment, so we went to those 2 pocket gardens in the physics faculty, and we wanted to study the effect with the student in those 2 gardens. However, it was very difficult. It took us a few months of talking and administrative problems to make a real experiment in those 2 gardens, and then we said, okay, there is no way to complete the research, and we had another approach. We used our visualization lab. We have in our faculty a very modern visualization lab, 7 meters screen, very controlled, very computerized laboratory, and we can put on the screen a 3D pictures, and we can walk even inside the picture, inside the building, or inside the landscape elements. So we use this element. We had different pictures of the landscape element of these pocket gardens, and we studied the effect of the sound and the smell on those various parameters with volunteers. We had 20 people, equal number of male and female in the age of 23 to 62. So you can see not all of them were students. And here are the physiological parameters which we were studied. Here is one of the students, the volunteers. They were equipped with miniature sensors on their hands, and we measured the heart rate, the skin resistance, which is an indicator for the sweat, for sweating, skin temperature, blood pressure, and the difference from control levels. First, we went to the company, the distributing smells, and we asked them that we would like different smells for the experiment, and they were very nice to them. They equipped us with the different machines and which we used the smell in the experiment. However, the subject, the volunteer, says it's not the right smell, it's not like nature, so we decided to leave it, and we went back to nature. So each morning we came to the laboratory with fresh leaves of mint and lavender and all the things, and we just put it in the very sealed boxes and just opened it in the back of the volunteers so they couldn't see it, and smashed it and squeezed it with our hands. It was excellent approach. And of course, for voice, we used nature voices of water, flowing waters, and the like that. Okay, so if we want to know if people are under stress, we have to bring them to equal level of stress. So again, we looked for a sort of a stress test, and we used the PASAT. The PASAT is a stress test which is used also in the clinics. It studies cognitive function, memory, and numeric scales. And the idea is you have to combine each time 2 digits, like 8 and 3, it's 11, and then you hear 2 seconds later the digit 2, and you have to take 2 plus 8, and then 2 seconds later 7, and you have to 7 plus 2, and believe me, it's very difficult, and people get not used to it. It's very, very stressful. So this is the test that brings all the people to almost equal level of stress. And this is a typical experiment. So we have, first of all, a controlled period of 2 minutes in which they watch a 3D pocket garden movie. And then they have the test, the PASAT. Then again, the movie that brings them back to control, PASAT, movie, PASAT, and control. So we have actually 5 periods of control and 3 periods of stress. 1 without anything, 1 with smell, 1 with sound, and of course, each subject is exposed to 3 of them in a different random order, so it's a crossover design, and all the statistics is accordingly. And indeed, it's very stressful, and here you can see the results. Actually, you can see it also here. The red one is heart rate, and you see each time when the test, it's increase in heart rate and goes back to normal. Increase and back to normal, increase and back to normal. And here the statistics of all populations significantly increase during the test, so they are indeed under stress. Now, what are their performance? We looked about correct results and about errors. There were no significant differences between the correct numbers in the test between normal, sound, and smell. However, there was a borderline change in the smell. So they were better when they had stress with smell. Talking about stress, there was a borderline effect of stress, much less stress as expressed in sweat whenever they made the test. No effect on heart rate. However, there was a big variability in preferences. We said we have 3 types of parameters. So one was the functionality, the second one physiological, and the third one was preferences. And we see that there was no effect in the mean number. However, there was a big variability. 7 out of 20 and 9 out of 20 said that it helped them very, very much to reduce the stress. So in conclusion, although there was a borderline significance of beneficial effect of smell and on smell when on performance and on sweat, there was no significant difference in performance and physiological parameters for sound, but there were big differences between people. We found some sort of a correlation between age and gender. Unfortunately, we had only 20 people, and we must have more people to see better correlation between age and gender, and the personal variation in preference, both in smell and both in set. So what would be our future suggestions? First of all, we need, of course, not just one single element like sound or smell, but combination of them, because, of course, in nature we have combination. We never can isolate one of them. The second one, we have to start and use in landscape design not just the visual, but also to put a soundscape. And I'm in the field of design. We already now use a soundscape in different things which we do, because we have electronics now that enable us and cause us to use soundscape, and we need also to use smellscape as part of the decision what should be in our design of the landscape. And we can come to a concept of stress field, personalized, tailored pocket gardens. So we can actually ask the people, they can go to a sort of simulated laboratory like we have. They can be under a sort of an experiment to test them with various smells, with various sounds, various other parameters, and then can actually decide upon their own tailored, personalized pocket garden, the garden that would be in the institute or the garden that would be near their home. How we will make it? Maybe in the future we'll go after this, I guess this book was translated to many languages. My children and grandchildren like it very much, Harold and the Purple Crayon, in which you can draw. So when they come to the landscape architect, they say, please draw me a garden according to their personal preferences, a personal physiological reaction to stress and functionality. Or maybe it will be like the Little Prince, because whenever we do not know exactly, we can ask for a box. And if you remember, he asked, please draw me a sheep, and one was too old, and one was too small, and one wasn't nice. So he will put inside the specification, and they just have the box, and they receive the pocket garden in the end that is really tailored and personalized to their preferences, to multi-sensory preferences of the people. So if someone wants to collaborate and to go and help me to draw these things, you're most welcome. Thank you.